what we're doing here. All the stuff we've been doing up to now have been click, 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 click. So what's going to happen after the click clicks? Whoosh. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to get into algebra, and all those click clicks, all those things I've been harping about, all those things are going to come into play, and faster, faster, faster. And then we're going to take a turn and come around and spin around. And that's where the hairy algebra comes in. That's where the geometry comes in. That's where all the fractions all kind of come together. So right now we're still doing our click, 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 click. And today we'll finally get into the algebra. Any others? No? That's it?
And you said anything to the O, if it's A, B, C, whatever it is, it's going to automatically be 1, correct? If it goes to O, it's 1.
You mean the 0 power?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Anything to the 0 power. Now, sometimes you could get tricked, messed up. Like, if I have minus 50 all to the 0 power.
That's going to be 50 times 0, right? No.
When I say everything to the 0 power is always
1.
1. So this will be 1, and then I get Invisible Man out there.
Okay.
So this would be minus 1. So if there's something lurking about on the outside, then it's going to be affected by it.
Okay. All right.
Okay? That's the only sort of trickster that you could see with 0 power.
So let's say you have 3 outside.
You have a 3 outside here?
No, on the outside. Like negative 3 and then
Negative 3 on here? And then it's going to be negative 3. And this will be negative 3. Just like that. So if it's not the invisible man, it could be a number, sure. But it's got to be outside the parentheses. Because the 0 only affects what's inside the parentheses. Yes?
We had a problem where we had to factor out, and like B was to 0 power. I had left it.
Which one was that? Factor completely one?
11. D. I did the wrong one, I think. 11D.
11D? Well, you could just change that B to 0 power to 1. Now, I had to make this, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the homework I assigned, I said 9, 10, I think, I said 11 D, E, F. What I meant was 9, 10, and 12 D, E, F, and then 11 has the G, H, I. I don't know if anybody picked up on that, because there's no G, H, I.
We thought you was giving us a
number
preview
10.
and not having to do number 12. That's what we thought, so we should do it.
So if you didn't do 11 G, H, and I, let's tackle one of those. Which one do you want to tackle? I bet I know which one. I can just, I would have thought H would have been the one. So you choose, H or I?
But
No, only do one.
H.
All right, H, you got a minus a half. Now, this is not on today's quiz, but you could likely see this one in the future quiz. I write it down correctly, make sure I wrote down. Minus 1/2 PQ, P squared Q plus 1/6 PQ squared. Okay, so I did do it right. Actually, it's a lot easier than it looks. But, all right, so it says factor completely, right? What does that mean again? Factor completely. What does that mean again? Just kind of remind us what our action would be, or has to be here. Say what? Yeah, but I'm see if you're drawing a picture the same way I draw a picture in my mind. When I'm asked to do something, it's nice to draw a picture in your mind first before you start doing it. Right?
Usually my picture goes blank, and I'm like, well, I'll just do whatever way it possibly could be done, and that way one of them's got to work.
Well, look, I mean, to remember things, guys, remember your brain is everybody's brain is sort of different than mine, perhaps. But the deal is when every brain, when you're asked to compute something, when you're asked to do something, you pretty much know what you're doing before you're doing it. If you don't, then you have to refer to a reference. Like if I were to, I have this dictionary on my phone, and it throws a new word at me every single day. If I don't know what that word means, what am I going to do? If I want to know what it means, I'm curious, what do? Look it up, right? I mean, if you're in a class, you know, I'm in class too, I'm still working on my doctorate at night, and so I get challenged, and the first thing I do, if I don't know something, is I look it up. If you're not doing that, then something's not right, something's not clicking, something's not happening. Okay? So when some direction says completely to completely factor, what does that mean? Not sure? Second. It's a form of simplifying, but it's not reducing. You're not, well, it is a form of reducing too. But I used some words in the notes. I said, first off, factoring is the opposite of. You didn't get that either, huh? Did you miss the memo on that one? Opposite of distributive property. Factoring is the opposite of distributive property. If you didn't write that down in your notes, now's the time to do that. So factoring is the opposite of distributive property. So distributive property is putting in, factoring is pulling out. So to factor completely is we're pulling out what they have in common. That's what factoring completely is. Pull out what they have in common. So what do these two terms have in common? This is my first term. This is my second term, because it's separated by a plus sign. So this is term, and this is a term. What do these two terms have in common? So I broke it down in most cases for y'all. Can't believe I said y'all. Cannot believe that came out of my mouth.
We're going to yee-haw.
Oh my God. You know, the people in the north don't say y'all, they say something else, right? You guys. You guys. You know, you guys. Now I'm saying y'all. Oh boy, I would be hung up by my toes from my Chicago brothers if I said that in front of them. Okay. Now, what do they have in common? I'm not going to separate each one like I did before. I baby stepped you the first time. Now we're going to grow up and do it ourselves. What do they have in common?
P's and Q's.
I guess the P's and Q's. So they have at least one P, because it says 2 says 1, so they have at least one in common. Do they have a half in common? Better yet, do they have a minus a half in common? Yeah, because a plus is what? 2 minus on it. Hidden. But they're crossed up. So they have a minus a half in common. They also have a P. And what about a Q? They have a common Q? Yeah. Common Q. So I set that outside. I pull that outside of my parentheses. So basically, I'm pulling out, bringing down this plus sign. So what's going to be left over here? What's going to be left over there? What's left over here in this term? If I pull out a minus a half, obviously the half is gone, so it's just a 1 maybe. There's still a leftover P, and there's no more Q's left. So I can say P or 1P. Because the invisible man shows up. I can't just have nothing there. Something's got to show up. So I just put if there's nothing left, I put a 1 or maybe a P or 1P. It doesn't make a difference. So since there's something there, I could just, invisible man just goes away. So I can just leave the P there. Okay. What's left over here on this side?
Q.
Okay, we got one q left. Well, the p's gone, so, but what's left out of here? When I pull out 1/2 out of this, what's left? Well, I already pulled out the negative 1/3, so to make it a positive, it's got to be a negative there. So it's got to be a minus 1/3. That's it. Done. Finito. Finalmente. I'm finished. Finally. That's what factoring is, pulling out. Say what? Doesn't matter. A times B is the same as B times A. Doesn't make a difference. It does look a little odd that's like that, so you can rewrite this. If this is so quirky to you, you can say this. And it's okay. I mean, it's okay to look quirky once in a while. Or to have something look quirky. You can write Q over 3. And that's probably the back of the book's version. The invisible man goes away and just keep the Q up top with a 3 in the bottom. That look better? That's a little bit better. Okay. Now, to know that you're right, I said you could check these. How? Distribute back in, see if we get the original. Well, let's just check that out. Let's just take a quick peek. So if I go back in, I got minus 1/2 p squared q, right? And then I'll get a minus times a minus, which is a plus. And then I'll get 1/6 p, and I get 2 q's. Does it check? Hell yes. Damn, I'm good. That's what you should be saying. I can do this. Anybody can do this. Except my dog Merlin. He has no thumb. He can't, without thumbs, it's kind of hard to write down. Okay, so anybody can do this, I think. If you spend the time in it, if you think about it, if you draw a mental picture. I tell my daughter, who's dyslexic like me, is that without mental pictures, without visualizing something first, you're not going to memorize things. Okay, at her level in her school, some of the grade schools think you should memorize everything. Well, yeah, that's possible, but if you can't visualize it first, you have to see it first in your head. Then maybe you can remember it. Or come up with a sort of a song. I mean, some kids respond, or students respond to song. Some of you rappers out there can get that 1/3 going. I mean, you could do all kinds of things to remember how and why to do these things. So visually, auditorily, that's a word, hearing it, hearing the rhythm to it, there are lots of ways to remember things. So it's not just the math I'm teaching you here, guys, because the math is probably the hardest part for you. But once you can memorize things in math, and know those tricks, then everything follows in line with that. Whether it comes to remembering recipes, whether it regards things in business, maybe you want to run a restaurant. There are things that you remember better than others, and the way to do that is to find a trick to do that same thing with everything you want to learn. Okay, anything else?
And if anybody forgets what they got on paper as far as notes and all, I'll send everybody a link in the class. We've got a YouTube channel that's got everything he's saying, so if it'll help you follow back through, if you want to go in there, it's section by section broke down. You can just click on it and watch whatever if you have any questions on there as well. So.
Okay. That's my factoring out business. Let's get into something new. Today, basically, we're going to just review, and we're going to talk about some new stuff, and then we're going to have our quiz in the last 30 minutes or so, last 30 minutes of class. Okay? So I better